Okay, we have now got our wort boiling. You can kind of see it's about 212, 215 degrees. So the next thing we need to do is set our timer. So this is a 60-minute boil. Typically that's a lot of them. I'm going to set it for about an hour and 2 minutes. And the first thing we need to do is grab these hops that we weighed out. And at 60 minutes, once it started boiling and stays boiling, I turned the stove down a little bit too far, it's not boiling anymore. So it's still right at that temp, so I'm not too worried about it. So right at the 60-minute mark, what we'll want to do, which I'm going to do it just slightly early as soon as this gets back up to boiling, is add our hops in. When you add your hops in, you got to be careful for boil over, and what that is when you add the hops in, you have a lot of release of the gases and stuff within the wort, so it'll foam up. So you want to keep it stirring, keep an eye on it. If it does foam up, you want to remove it from the heat right away and keep on stirring until that goes away, and then you can slowly put it back on the heat and just keep an eye on it. That should subside about 3 to 5 minutes after you add the hops in. So here we go, we're going to add the hops in. You just kind of add those in, like I said, and kind of stir them in. You can kind of see there's a greenish tint now at the top. Those are from those hops. Okay. You don't really have to stir that vigorously. So now our time's at 1 hour and 1 minute. That's close enough to 60 minutes. So now we just let it sit here and just gently rolling boil for the next 60 minutes. Keeping an eye on the temperature and making sure it doesn't boil over. Then, according to the recipe, you see here's our first hop addition of 60 minutes. Then when the timer says 15 minutes, we will add a Werflock tablet. It just clarifies the beer a little bit. And then finally at 5 minutes, we'll add the last hop addition and let that boil off. At the end of the time, we will shut off the heat and then quickly cool it down. Okay, so now while that's boiling, we got about 53 minutes left on the timer, so we got plenty of time. Next thing you want to do is sanitize all your equipment, because from this point on, everything needs to be sanitized since it's not going to be in the boil. So what I've done so far is I'm going to sanitize the carboy first, which is your fermentation vessel. Like I said, you could also have like a 6.5 gallon bucket for your fermentation. That works just fine. This is just a little bit more airtight, and you can actually see it when it's fermenting to see what the activity is looking like. So what I did is I filled it about half full. This is a 6.5 gallon carboy. I did fill it with hot water. You don't have to. Cool water works just fine. And then I'm going to use this one-step cleanser. This is what was set in my kit. You can also use a product called Star Sand. It's a little bit more popular. I'll probably get that after this runs out. So if you're reading these directions, you want about 1 tablespoon per gallon of warm water. So I've got approximately 3 gallons of warm water in this carboy. I'm just doing the carboy first just because it's got a small opening on the top. So there's 1. And then I'll transfer to another bucket to sanitize everything else. 2, 3. So that should be enough for the solution to sanitize everything. And then it's got to sit in there for 2 minutes to sanitize it. You don't have to rinse it with this product at all. You don't have to worry about anything after that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put stopper on top, and then I'm going to roll it on its side so I get everything in the carboy. So I'm just going to set it like that for 2 minutes, roll it a little bit, set it for 2 minutes, roll it a little bit, and set it for 2 minutes. And then I'll transfer to that bucket there. That way I can sanitize everything else, including the siphon, the airlock, the hydrometer, since I'm going to do a test on it before I put it into the fermentation bucket. the stopper for the airlock, and then my yeast packet as well, since that'll begin after the boil. That should be all I need to sanitize from this point on. You also want to sanitize scissors or a knife in my case. That way you can open the yeast packet. Everything else should be good to go. Okay, now I've got the carb oil sanitized. Now I put it in this bucket where I put all the other stuff in, and I'm just letting that sit until I'm ready for it. No harm in letting it sit longer. Okay, now that it's done, we want to bring it from the stove over into the sink. We want to get cold water running on it. We're going to try to chill it down to about 70 degrees. So I put a little bit of water in there. I'm going to add a little bit of ice. You can also use like a wort chiller. I just haven't bought one of those yet. We'll put ice in there to help cool it down a little bit faster. You want to cool it down to that 70 degrees. That way the yeast, when you pitch the yeast, doesn't mess with it. If you're hotter than that, you can have either off flavors or just plain kill the yeast and you won't ferment it. Okay, so you can kind of see it's about 205 degrees and going down. So we'll wait until it's about 70 degrees. Okay, now we're down to about 70 degrees. Add a little bit of water. We're going to have to add water to get it up to just over 5 gallons anyway, so that just to help cool it down. So I've got my carboy fermenter right here with my siphon hooked up. So now we want to put the siphon in here and start siphoning out. Pump it up a couple of times. And then it'll start to auto siphon. So as you can see, it's kind of going in here. Then you'll just transfer the whole thing. When you get done, you'll add water until it reaches the 5 1/4 mark, and then I'll transfer some back into a glass so I can do a hydrometer test and see what the original gravity was, and then we'll pitch the yeast, and then that'll be done. Okay, we've got all of it added to the carboy. As you can see, we're just above 4 gallons. Like I said, I did add some water. I left a lot of the hops and solid particles in there. So now we just need to add a little bit more water to get it up to 5.5 gallons. Okay, we're almost to 5 1/4. This should bring us right up to the 5 1/4 mark. Right there is 5 1/4. Okay, now we're going to do the hydrometer test. I had changed glasses since the other one wasn't tall enough. So you want to just put it in there, give it a good spin, get all the air bubbles off of it. Okay, then see what it kind of settles at. So right there is the potential alcohol by volume. We're just over 5%. And you can kind of see over here, spin it around just a little bit so you can see it. This is what we want for the original gravity. We're sitting at about 1.042. And if you look at our target, we were looking for about 1.045. So we're really close. That's good. Okay. So now that we got all the alcohol back in here, I poured it out of the testing. Like I said, we got 1.042 for an original gravity. So now you got that all in your carboy. Put your stopper in. You want to shake it pretty good. This oxygenates it. That's what the yeast uses to ferment. Got it shook up really good. Now you can uncork it and come over here. You'll get your yeast packet, or if you're using a liquid yeast, you can use that, but this is a dry yeast. Remember, this needs to be sanitized. Also, your cutting mechanism needs to be sanitized. Cut the top of it off. There we go. Okay, now bring it over. You just want to sprinkle it in there. Okay, it's all in there. Now take your stopper made for the airlock. I'm going to put the airlock in there. And you can fill up the airlock with the sanitizer solution. Just so that you can kind of see a line there. You want to fill that to right there. Maybe a little less than that. So put the cap back on there, stick it in there, and then it's ready to go and ferment. Cool place for the next 7 to 14 days. Keep it about 70 degrees. Just keep an eye on it. And that's all you have to do to start your fermentation.